Hebrew is one of the oldest and most unique languages on the planet, having evolved from an ancient sacred tongue into a modern, living means of communication for millions of people. It belongs to the Semitic branch of the Afro-Asiatic language family, alongside Arabic and Aramaic. Hebrew holds a special place among the world's languages due to its remarkable ability to be revived and adapted. More than 9 million people, primarily in Israel, speak Hebrew as their native or primary language. The revival of Hebrew is one of the most astonishing phenomena in the history of linguistics. From a sacred ancient language, it has undergone an incredible transformation into a modern, vibrant form of communication. Today, Hebrew is heard in everyday life, politics, science, and even in the world of high technology, uniting the past and the future in a single language. Hebrew originated in the land of ancient Canaan and, from the 12th century before Common Era until the 3rd century Common Era, served as the language of state affairs and everyday communication, especially during the time of the Tanakh, or the Old Testament. However, after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 Common Era and the subsequent dispersion of the Jewish people around the world, Hebrew gradually gave way to Aramaic. From the 3rd to the 18th century Common Era, Hebrew continued to exist, but no longer as a spoken language. Instead, it lived on as the language of religion, science, and philosophy. It was no longer heard in daily life but preserved in letters, literature, and theological writings. During these centuries, Hebrew absorbed influences from Arabic, Greek, and European languages, continuing to evolve as the intellectual and spiritual legacy of the Jewish people. Root system and language structure. Like any living language, Hebrew possesses a unique structure that encompasses phonetics, morphology, syntax, and vocabulary. Its sound system includes distinctive phonemes that are absent in most Indo-European languages, giving Hebrew speech its characteristic resonance. At the heart of its grammar lies an ancient yet elegantly logical system of three-letter roots, sometimes four-letter, which, when combined with prefixes, suffixes, and vowel markings, give rise to thousands of words and forms. Hebrew is a language with a unique root-based system, an incredibly rich verbal structure, and a distinctive word order. Its morphology makes the language truly straightforward, mathematically structured, flexible, and expressive, capable of conveying subtle shades of meaning with precision. Once you grasp the mathematical logic behind Hebrew, learning it becomes intuitive and easy. The key feature of the language is that almost all words are based on a three-letter root, occasionally four. In Hebrew, you will never find a word with a two- or five-letter root. This creates a unique advantage. To understand the meaning of an unfamiliar word, you simply identify the root letters and recall other words that share the same root. Once you've mastered the roots, you'll easily be able to form related words and grammatical structures. This is the foundational principle of Hebrew structure, and all other grammatical rules are built upon it. In the following lessons, we'll explore in detail the algorithms for forming words and parts of speech from roots, phonetics and writing system. Hebrew consists of 22 consonant letters, and its words are written from right to left. Unlike many other languages, Hebrew does not use uppercase letters. However, several letters have different forms depending on their position in a word, whether at the beginning or middle, or at the end. This helps to clearly distinguish words and identify where one ends and another begins. Hebrew is one of the rare examples of a successfully revived language that was once considered dead. An interesting fact, the older a language is, the fewer vowel letters it tends to have, and Hebrew has none at all in the form of standalone vowel characters. Instead, vowel sounds are conveyed using special diacritical marks called nikdot or vocalization marks. These are typically omitted in everyday writing, yet the meaning of the text remains clear to native readers. Despite its ancient roots, Hebrew sounds surprisingly soft and melodic. It lacks harsh buzzing or hissing sounds, which makes the language particularly pleasant to the ear. Vocabulary, grammar, and word order. The core vocabulary of Hebrew is based on the language of the Torah, which laid the foundation for the development of all subsequent lexical richness. Over time, Hebrew absorbed many loanwords, from medieval Arabic, Aramaic, and Greek to modern languages such as English, Russian, French, and others, reflecting advancements in technology, science, culture, and everyday life. Until 1948, the year the State of Israel was declared, the language had barely evolved. But after this historic event, Hebrew began to develop rapidly, by leaps and bounds. The main center for the language's growth became the Academy of the Hebrew Language, which to this day creates new words and ensures that the language remains alive, modern, and capable of reflecting all facets of life. Hebrew has a simple and logical grammatical structure. Nouns in Hebrew have only two genders, masculine or feminine, and they can appear in singular, plural, or dual form. There are no grammatical cases in Hebrew, which makes it easier to learn. Cases are expressed through prepositions and word order. In modern sentences, the word order is as follows: subject first, then verb, and finally the object. However, sometimes the older word order, typical of the ancient language, is also used, verb first, then subject. Adjectives in Hebrew always follow nouns, and adverbs follow adjectives. For example, the phrase "a very clean house" in Hebrew would be structured as "house clean very." The revival of Hebrew as a living language. At the end of the 19th century, an inspiring movement began to revive Hebrew as a spoken language, led by Eliezer ben Yehuda, a man often referred to as the father of modern Hebrew. He breathed new life into the ancient tongue, adapting it to the realities of the modern world, creating words for concepts that didn't exist in antiquity, shaping contemporary grammar, and making Hebrew suitable for everyday communication. Verbs and patterns. Verbs in Hebrew are built according to a system of 7 verb patterns called binyanim. These patterns play a key role in forming verb conjugations and their meanings. In upcoming lessons, we will explore each binyan in detail and learn about their specific characteristics. Interrogative sentences and intonation. Interrogative sentences in Hebrew are formed without changing the word order, but intonation helps convey that a question is being asked. This adds a dynamic and expressive quality to the language. Conclusion. Hebrew is not just a language, it is a living and dynamic system that has survived for millennia and been reborn in modern times. By understanding its structure and rules, one can learn it quickly and easily. Hebrew continues to evolve, borrowing words and expressions from other languages around the world. Studying Hebrew is a journey that opens up not only new horizons of communication but also a cultural heritage that reaches back to ancient times.